Hi, I'm David,
I'm Steve.
and we're gonna hear.
I'm looking at the wrong camera.
All right, take two.
Hi, I'm Steve,
And I'm David.
and this is our new YouTube channel. And we're going to be talking about TV shows, movies, and anything that we find of interest. And we're just gonna kind of have a chat about it like we normally do, and put it on YouTube.
Exactly, because we think what we say is interesting enough that you might want to watch it, and we might be wrong, but
Yeah, we're gonna try.
we're gonna try.
So we figured today was a perfect day to start because the new season of Doctor Who just aired, and we just finished watching that. And what did you think?
Well, I thought that it was really good. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I kind of compared it to the other transition shows that Doctor Who has had. Going from Christopher Eccleston to David Tennant and David Tennant to Matt Smith, and I thought that this was probably my favorite of all the different transition ones. I think that I like where they're going right away in this one, and in the other ones, it felt to me like maybe it took a few episodes for the new Doctor to kind of get their footing, and to me, Peter Capaldi is doing an awesome job already.
Yeah, I think he's good, but I still don't. I don't know if I agree that he's fully there yet. Like, I still feel like it's going to take a few episodes because it was kind of like he wasn't really the Doctor until the very end of the episode.
Right. Yeah, I don't think he's
kind
there
of finding
yet.
his footing through the whole.
Exactly.
Pretty much the whole episode. The first half of the episode, he doesn't even have his mind with him.
Right.
He's kind of like crazy.
Yeah, I agree. But there's just something about his acting skill that just pulls me in. Like he's
got the eyebrows.
He's got the eyebrows.
Definitely he's got the look.
Yeah.
And I like how he makes reference to the eyebrows. Every Doctor has the thing. It's got the chin, and like that was Matt Smith's thing. And
do you think that this Doctor's new catchphrase was said in this episode? Because I thought maybe boring. That's not me. Could be something.
Yeah, it could be. I didn't pick up on that myself, but yeah. Because, they always have catchphrases, but, like, Matt Smith's was Geronimo, but he only used it, like, 3 or 4, he didn't use it that often, not like David Tennant was saying, Allons-y, like every episode, and
I wonder if they think about, if the writers, if Stephen Moffat, like, thinks of these things beforehand, or if it just, something happens in an episode, and then they're like, oh, that's great, let's use that again.
And people like this one, so let's keep using that.
Right.
So anyways, like, to go back, like, to start from the beginning of the episode, I like the new intro a lot, visually, but I don't know if I liked the way they changed the music.
Yeah.
It seemed a little too retro.
I liked the kind of steampunk, look of the gears and stuff, but hearing that really high-pitched kind of whiny new part of the intro song, to me, it didn't sound great first time around.
Yeah, I'll probably get used to it. It's very different. It's a much larger departure than what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, it almost seemed to me kind of like a more retro kind of callback to...
Yeah, definitely. And, I mean, that's kind of the whole idea behind this Doctor, is that it's kind of a callback to some of the older Doctors.
Right.
Which, disclaimer, neither of us really watch the older Doctor. Yeah, classic Who, so we're kind of just, new Who. Like, that's all we're really very familiar with. So
right, but we're familiar that Peter Capaldi's did watch classic Who when he was growing up, and so he's drawing a lot of his inspiration from those characters that he loved.
Then moving into the episode, I was not there right away when the Doctor comes out and he's kind of like just aimlessly rambling. Like, I didn't know what he was talking about. Like, I thought, am I supposed to understand what he's saying for a second?
I don't think you were. Like, I got the idea that we were supposed to be feeling the same kind of unease and confusion that Clara, was feeling, and I think they did a good job of that. Just in general, I think Peter Capaldi does a really good job of kind of making you feel uneasy. I mean, he's definitely obviously a darker Doctor, but he's also he's a little scary in a way.
Yeah, that was Moffat had mentioned that too, that he wanted this Doctor to be the kind of Doctor where when he left, you weren't going to be sure if he was going to come back. And I definitely felt that when he abandoned her with all the robots. It's like, oh, well, what a jerk.
Yeah. Well, because it was the first episode, and we knew that they were going to be doing a much more drastic change to the Doctor than the previous Doctors. I was kind of wondering, like, is this part of the new Doctor? Like, he's going to start abandoning people?
You know, as the episode progressed, you definitely saw a little bit more of that David Tennant, Matt Smith kind of caring personality kind of buried in there, especially at the end of the episode.
Right. What did you think about the kind of new dynamic in the interaction between Clara and Peter Capaldi as opposed to Matt Smith's character?
I like it a lot. In particular, I really loved the scene when they're in the restaurant and they have that banter. It was almost still kind of flirtatious, but not, you know, in the same way that it was with, like, you know, Matt Smith, where it was like boyfriend, girlfriend kind of flirtatious. This was kind of like they still connect, you know, like they still have that chemistry.
Yeah. To me, you know, I was expecting a darker and more intense Doctor. But to me, I was kind of surprised that I perceived Clara's character as being, you know, darker and more intense as well. And maybe that's a reflection of, you know, her interaction with the new Doctor. But to me, I thought that Clara's character was a lot more interesting than I felt she has been in previous episodes.
I felt like all the characters were more interesting than in previous episodes. I felt like there was a lot more emphasis put on the character-driven drama and development in this episode than we've seen, especially last season, where it was very, last season was very, you know, movie of the week was what he was going for, so it was very thematically driven, like, dinosaurs on a spaceship type thing, and there wasn't that same kind of, like, attention paid to the characters.
Right. And part of that, I thought, might have been because of the Madame Vostra, you know, Strax spin-off that they're doing, you know, and that this was a...
Are they doing that?
I think they are. I think I read that and or saw another YouTuber talking about that. And maybe not, but if that is true, I mean, it makes sense that they did such a good job in this episode developing their characters and making them interesting, not just background.
This was the first episode where I actually liked the Jenny character.
Yes, that's true. Jenny...
She's always just kind of been there in the background, not really having a personality of her own. And this was the first time that I felt like they actually gave her a personality in this episode. I
agree, yes. And she was kind of sexy in this episode, too.
Yeah.
You know, and that's obviously a different part of her.
Speaking of sexy, there was, like, a lot of innuendo in this episode compared... You know, there's always been a little hints here and there in past episodes, but this one there was just like sexual joke after.
It's interesting that, you know, that this is the Doctor who's, you know, they're done with the whole romance
not
angle.
Flirting, like he explicitly says in the beginning of the episode, I'm not flirting.
Exactly, and that's what the writers have said. And but I don't think that we've really seen those kinds of sexual, you know, innuendo and allusions in previous Doctors before, which is interesting.
Yeah, it kind of that along with the larger emphasis on the character development definitely gave the episode a more grown-up feel. You know, everybody says darker, but I don't think darker is the right term. I think just more grown up, you know, more mature in general, and less campy. I feel like with each regeneration, since New Who, that the show has grown less and less campy.
That's true. Yeah, it's gotten less silly and
it's got dinosaurs and robots and stuff. Somehow it just feels more like
you're definitely not watching a kid show this series.
Yeah,
you know, not that any of them are kid show series, but you know, season 1 in particular, series 1 of the New Who in particular, you know, was not dark at all, and you know, it was very.
Well, I had a few dark episodes here scattered throughout, but it feels, you know, more mature.
They definitely cranked up the notch on the romantic sexual interaction between Madame Vostra and Jenny, and also Clara. It was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's always kind of been there. But
it's always been there, but now it was very much like in your face.
I'm gonna give you some air from my lungs. Make out scene.
Yeah, in Madame Vostra, she's got kind of that wandering eye now.
Yeah. Well, who wouldn't?
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised by the number of callbacks.
Like Geronimo.
There were a couple others in the episode, which I wasn't expecting. It it was definitely different in that regard than when Matt Smith came on, and it almost felt like a complete reboot with that episode.
Yeah, I agree.
This one feels more like it just kind of continues right on from where last season left off.
Yeah, I appreciate the callback to Amy Pond, when he
Yeah.
says, something like, I wish you were Amy right now, because she wouldn't do it
Right.
what you're doing. And I'm sure fans of...
Because Amy has the long legs.
Yeah, right. I'm sure fans of Amy and Rory era will appreciate that callback.
I was definitely surprised by Matt Smith's appearance at the end.
I thought that he was going to be in the episode, but I thought it was just going to be audio. So I was surprised that there was quite a bit of him on screen actually at the end.
Yeah, I remember I heard rumors about that, but just speculation. So a lot of people were saying, now this is before the episode aired, of course. I don't know what they're saying now, but they were upset that might be a possibility because they thought it would detract from Peter Capaldi's Doctor. But I think it actually served its purpose, what it was supposed to do, to help bring Clara around to seeing him as the same person.
It served the same purpose that the call in the show served to help Clara make that bridge. It helped us because as drastic a change as it is from Matt Smith to Peter Capaldi for her, I mean, it's the same for us.
Yeah.
Much more so than from David Tennant to Matt Smith.
Yeah, because they were much more similar characters. And again, Series 5 was very much like a reboot of the show. There's very few callbacks to past episodes. In this episode, they called back to Clara getting that number from the woman. I wasn't expecting that to become, a plot thread. Now it seems like that's like the main villainess of the series, perhaps.
Exactly.
It shows up at the end of the episode. I assume it's the same woman.
Mm-hmm. Overall, I think that the episode for me set a really good tone for the rest of the 11 more episodes that are coming up. I'm really excited for the next one. I think they've really done a good job striking a new tone and getting me excited to figure out where they're going to go with this new story. I'm not thinking, oh, I wish Matt Smith was still there, I want more River Song and those kinds of things. I'm really interested to see what new direction they're going to be taking the show in.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely, this episode definitely has me excited for what's to come.
Yeah. And knowing that Clara's not going to be coming back next series, is that been confirmed?
I don't know if that's been confirmed. I think this still kind of a
she
rumor,
hasn't confirmed it yet. It was in the Guardian, which is a which is a big newspaper in the UK.
So I will find out soon if if that is.
But if it is true, I think as serialized as this series is probably going to be, I'm looking forward to the resolution of the overall storyline that's going to be involving that woman we saw at the end of the show and her relationship with Clara and what's going on with that whole thing. If I had to grade it, I'd probably give it, a B+, A-, just because, I'm always hoping for that one that's just going to make me burst into tears. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd probably give it the same. I think in some ways I did like Matt Smith's premiere episode a little bit better because I'm more immediately attached to him as the Doctor than I did Capaldi. It took me a while to work up to Capaldi, which might be what the episode was going for, probably intentional, so that we'd feel right along there with Clara's journey to accepting him as the Doctor.
Right.
So,
because in the beginning of Matt Smith's era, there was not a crossover with the companion, and so
right. So it was more of a fresh start.
Right. And it was also more, looking back on it, I'm not sure if this is how I perceived it at the time, but looking back, it seems as though there was this dynamic of the Doctor, helping Amy, saving Amy, putting her back together, partly because he was responsible for breaking her. But in this episode, with the new Doctor, it's sort of the other way around. Clara's going to be there to help the Doctor put himself back together.
Right. Yeah. That wasn't supposed to come on.
Damn it. Do you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, I think I've said all I can think to say. I'm sure I've missed some things. It was funny. I was surprised how funny Capaldi was.
It was funny.
Strax was great as always. Mm-hmm. And
I'm really interested. I didn't say this before. I'm really interested in the aspect that they brought up several times in the episode of the Doctor wondering why he picked the face that he picked.
His face.
And that seemed to me that they're obviously going to somehow explain, his previous.
Now, there's two possibilities. Either it's going to lead to some larger explanation later on to explain why he has the same face as recurring characters. There's two different characters now he's played. Or that was the explanation, and that's all we're going to get.
Yeah, I wonder. Knowing Moffat, it could turn into something. Next series they just
he probably
leave it where it is.
He probably hasn't even decided yet.
Exactly.
Maybe it'll come up later. I don't know.
Right.
I do sort of hope that they explore that a little bit more rather than just having that be the explanation.
Oh, me too. I think that they've left that wide open, and I'll be kind of disappointed if there's not some more explanation or some resolution of that question.
Right.
Because to me, it felt like that Moffat was trying to make me question, what the answer to that question is, and why raise that.
Knowing Moffat, he often doesn't.
He doesn't care whether
questions.
or not.
Yeah.
Right. He doesn't care whether or not I figure out that answer or not.
Yeah.
But I hope I do. So we're going to be watching all the episodes together and coming back and talking to you about them.
And we'll probably be discussing other shows, movies.
Anything we find interesting.
Yeah, anything in general, probably even beyond that, science topics, just geeky things in general, or nerdy or what.
We're going to start talking about interesting things in the car and say, nope, save it for the YouTube channel.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, well, thanks for watching.
We'll be back next week.
Cut.